Gentleman from Nebraska is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner, for being here today. I want to clarify, perhaps, there was mention earlier about special agents, especially within criminal investigation. Now, it's my understanding from a communication I received from your agency last fall that criminal investigation plans to hire 360 special agents per year over the next 5 years for an approximate net gain of 1,200 special agents considering attrition. Is that accurate?
That sounds about right. Our criminal investigation division, which deals with fraud and significant cases of tax evasion.
Correct. And those special agents are armed. Those special agents are armed. Is that correct?
They are armed. It's less than 3% of the IRS workforce.
And they avoid magnetometers at airports and things like that. So
they're law enforcement personnel.
Now, you said earlier that you're not hiring any new special agents that will be armed, but it sounds to me like you are.
Well, my understanding, I'm glad you're clarifying, my understanding of the question was around audits. Our CI division, our criminal investigation division, they do not conduct audits. What they do is they are investigating acute issues of fraud and tax evasion, okay. And typically they're armed when they're putting themselves in danger.
I understood. I understand. But I think it's important to note that there is a difference. There will be new hires that will be armed, for the record. Now, last September, Secretary Yellen sent a letter to then Chairman Neal supporting Ways and Means Committee Democrats' efforts to provide additional funding for the IRS. I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to include that letter in the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. In that letter, Secretary Yellen addressed the long-term decline in the number of auditors at IRS and provided data showing the decrease in the percentage of taxpayers audited across a number of filer categories between 2010 and 2018. Can you clarify whether 2010, the date put forward by Secretary Yellen in 2021, is the historical average you were referring to as a long-term goal? Emphasis long-term goal once IRS ramps up to audit high net worth individuals?
No, I would not clarify that. I would not characterize that as a goal. It's a benchmark. And we look at 2010 because that's the first year that started the steep decline in IRS resources. Okay. So we want to provide transparency to the American people that at the start of our decline in discretionary resources, this is what the world looked like in terms of audit rates.
Okay, and there's a lot of confusion here in terms of what a lot of these numbers are. But, you know, there's consideration of income brackets, what those targets will be, and the percentage of taxpayers within each bracket who are being audited. But when you're attempting to adhere to the instruction, what metric will you actually be using? Will it be that distribution across brackets, or are there other numbers to consider?
I think what we would do, Congressman, is look historically at the type of coverage we had when we were at our healthiest. So, for example, if you look back at our audit rates when at our healthiest, we had fairly high audit rates for individuals with more than $20 billion, or companies with more than $20 billion in assets. We are more than half of that right now, and so I wouldn't call it a target, but it's a trend to make sure we're getting back to healthy levels.
Now, the Joint Committee on Taxation found that more than 90% of underreported income actually came from taxpayers earning less than $400,000. So how can we expect to generate $191 billion in new revenue over the next decade without drastically actually increasing the number of audits on families making less than $400,000, not even considering for the impact of inflation, since the president set the $400,000 threshold not long ago? I mean, the math seems to be difficult to reach.
Yeah, and this is a very important question, and I'm glad you asked it. Look, there is a lot of mounting evidence that there is significant underreporting or tax gap in the highest income filers. For example, There's a study that was done by the U.S. Treasury Department that looked at the top 1% of Americans and found as much as $163 billion of tax dodging.
Roughly 90% of the new audits, 90% of the new audits will be of those making less than $400,000. Is that correct?
No, none of the new audits will be of people earning under $400,000. So maybe I'm not understanding your question. There will be new audits under the Inflation Reduction Act, but those will all be focused on our highest wealth filers, individuals.
So the historic average is not relevant then, as referenced earlier?
Not for a number of years, no, it won't be.
Okay, I wish I had more time. Thank you.
Mr. Thompson is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, thank you for being here. Commissioner, yesterday our Republican colleagues passed off the floor of the House a bill that slashed $80 billion in IRS funding that we had put in last year to help you solve some of these issues that have been discussed today. They made that cut saying that this was going to save money. It sounds like crazy math to me. Can you help us understand, when we fund you with proper funding levels, does that cost money, or does it allow you to recoup the money that's owed?
It allows us to recoup the money that's owed. There's long-standing historical and robust analytics that points to a return of $6 of return to the taxpayer for every $1 invested in the IRS budget.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that you cleared up this nonsensical argument that we heard continuously over the course of last year, that this $80 billion was going to pay for heavily armed agents running around kicking in doors. So thank you for that. I appreciate also the fact that we've made improvements in regard to customer service at the IRS. And I know all I have to do is talk to my district staff about how bad things were, and things do seem to get better. But I just want to say, you got some work to do. Last week, my wife spent 3 hours on the phone with the IRS, and she still hasn't gotten through. And most people, at least working people such as my wife, don't have time to spend. It was 3 different calls trying to get through, so she just didn't have time. People don't have time to spend an hour on the phone. So that.
Yes, Congressman, it's stories like that that is motivating. I know we have more work to do. But what worries me, Congressman, is if we reduce our funding, we'll hear more stories like that.
I get it. I get it completely. I just need to let you know that we've
Understood.
got more work.
I like when people tell me these stories because it's motivating.
Commissioner, we have some devastating wildfires in California, 2015, 2017, and 2018. Fire survivors throughout California received payments from an established trust after the Pacific Gas and Electric bankruptcy. My constituents and other Californians began receiving partial compensation from that trust in 2021, and they continue to receive payments today. None of the people that we're talking about will ever be made whole. They're going to get less money than it's going to take to repay to rebuild their homes and their businesses, and heavens knows what all they lost that are just irreplaceable. Now, in many cases, these folks are being told that they owe taxes on the payment they received from the trust, including taxes on the lawyers' fees, the lawyers that were associated with that trust. I have legislation with Representative LaMalfa that will make these payments non-taxable. And I appreciate that your staff has been working with mine on this issue, and I would ask that you will continue to work with Congress. This is wrong. This should not be like this. And I know the 2017 tax bill teed up some of this inappropriate taxation to take place, but we need to fix this. It's not a good situation for American taxpayers.
Understood.
Is that a yes? You'll work continue.
Well, I absolutely will work with you. One of the limits that I have as the IRS commissioner is not being able to comment on pro or con on legislative proposals, only to talk about whether it's administrable. I will say this, though. It's Treasury who...
I'll be satisfied with yes, I'll continue to work with you on helping the taxpayers who are being harmed.
And we appreciate when we are provided tools to help taxpayers in need, especially those that are impacted by natural disasters.
Thank you. I also just want to say that Mr. Kelly, who's not here today, and I have legislation along with Chairman Wyden and Ranking Member Grassley over in the Senate to strengthen the IRS whistleblower program. We've got some common sense fixes that will strengthen that, help you guys out, and I guess it's not your policy to comment on legislation.
It's not my
but you can tell us if this will be helpful.
Yes, I can. We can work with you on that. You know, I will say we at the IRS will fiercely defend the integrity of the whistleblower process. We welcome suggestions on how to strengthen and improve it. So I'd love to work with you on that.
Thank you very much. Yield back.
Mr. Schweikert is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Commissioner, I have a fascination with the adoption of technology as a way to deal with so many of your issues. I have actually an IRS press release from just a couple weeks ago talking about your adoption of a chatbot for simple collection questions. Do you know anything about that?
I do.
How's it working?
Well, we have had a very successful filing season, as I understand it, with the introduction of new chatbots for things like getting a transcript, for things like setting up an installment agreement if you have less than $25,000. These are relatively $25,000.
And the article makes it clear. Your press release also makes it clear. It's relatively simple, but you've just engaged in an experiment of adopting the technology that we see much of corporate America moving to very quickly. Desperately, what can I do as a member of Congress on this august committee to help you do a hell of a lot more of this?
Yes.
The fact of the matter is, being someone who's been screwing around with ChatGPT since the end of last year, it is remarkable. I've had it write code for me. The fact of the matter is, you could build a stack in the IRS, and my ability to even ask complex questions, the ability to actually say, here's the discussion I can have, and over here is functionally the video on filling out the form. I guess I'm just desperate of what can I do to drag you in to the adoption of the technology that is truly customer-centric.
Congressman, I'm a convert. There's not a lot you have to do to convince me. And if my team behind me and those back at the IRS are watching, they're probably laughing because of how often in my first 5 or 6 weeks I've raised this exact issue.
So if I went online right now, though, and actually called in and talked to the chat, and you would direct me to, here's the video that would walk me through how to fill out the form in multiple languages, that exists? I looked for it last night and I couldn't find it.
When I think about a bot, I just want to make sure, like, if you call in the IRS 3 years ago and you need a transcript, you got in line with everyone else.
No, it's what
but not anymore.
I want to help you with this.
Yeah.
Because I also must tell you, I think it's insane you maintain your own servers. When you have substantial portions of the Department of Defense on highly encrypted cloud servers,
yes,
and you want to keep your own server farm?
Not necessarily. No, we are.
Well, not necessarily yes or no. What can I do to help you to join this century of technology? Both the storage and your computing capacity. It's absurd that you still have that server farm in West Virginia. It really is.
First thing that you can do to help is make sure that we're not underfunded to modernize.
But stop. The migration, because we spent some time looking at your plan. I didn't see the migration away from all your own storage and all your own processing, because this is really expensive. I mean, you still are maintaining some AS400s and some of these things. That's insane what you have to pay someone to do that.
Yep. It's in there, Congressman. I will explain it if you give me 1 second.
Oh, please.
Which is, in the plan, we are committed to replacing our main core systems.
Stop. That's actually what I was going at. I don't want you to replace it. I want you to migrate out.
Yeah, that's one of the alternatives. I can't. We should talk offline about large capital technology transformation, because I want to make sure that I'm following best practice. And one of the things we need to do is an alternatives analysis. And I'm very interested, maybe as interested as you, in what the cloud-based, service-oriented architecture looks like as an alternative.
You do realize we're having a conversation that's a decade out of date.
I agree.
I mean, when the Department of Defense did this a decade ago, and you guys are still putzing around with it. And it's a conversation I had for the first week I was on this committee. And this isn't Republican or Democrat. It's just modern practices. It's just, you know, we complain about resources and funding. People are really expensive. And the rest of the world, the rest of corporate and the rest of other parts of government have made these migrations. I want to, and this is one, I want to help you. If it's resources, if it's talent, I want to help you do these migrations. But the fact of the matter is, this made me very happy that you guys put this out, because it's a demonstration you're at least experimenting with technology. But my pitch at the end here is a very simple one. So far, every witness here, part of the response is resources, resources, resources. Okay. Some of them are saying the modern use of the resources you have, you could dramatically cut your operational costs by moving into this century of technology. That's all, and I want to help.
I would appreciate that help. I would love to meet with you offline. One of the things I will walk you through is some successes that we've had on technology that we can build on. You've pointed to one, but there are others. But I am not disagreeing with you.
Okay, the last sentence is, I was underwhelmed with the vision on your migration plan. Okay, you had a sentence or two that were throwaway lines. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman from Connecticut is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having this hearing. I think it's enlightening to have a hearing and to re-engage with, we're from the IRS and we're here to help. And I want to say at the start, I want to associate myself with the remarks of the Democratic leader, Neil, that he so artfully put out, but also talk about that service, and especially for the service, putting aside for a moment people earning above $400,000, but people who actually need the help, and the VITA program, which has been in place for a number of years. I can't tell you how successful that is and how we need to expand upon that. Is there something in the works to do that as well?
Yeah, I think about improved service as meeting taxpayers where they are and working with community groups, intermediaries to help us do that. VITA is an essential partner. They do incredible work. The number of times that VITAs are helping people file their taxes is increasing. The trend is going in the right direction. We're ready to partner and continue that trend.
I think that's an important thing and something we can learn in government. I hope, along with Dr. Ferguson, to talk about using a similar program with more than 10,000 baby boomers a day becoming eligible for Social Security, that there's also a tremendous need for volunteer help at no cost to make sure that people are getting the benefits that they richly deserve and need. It also brings to mind, et cetera, something like the passage of the child tax credit that's on the books and then off the books. And for so many families out there that were eligible that probably never even took advantage of this. And so, again, giving new meaning to, we're from the IRS and we're here to help, and to augment your team also with volunteers, but making sure that you have the resources to carry out what the regular taxpayer needs to understand. And we have a chart behind us, and I want to commend you, because we keep a record of, as I'm sure most members do the same thing, of the number of cases that we take up. And here, just in the area of tax filing, for the year, we have what went on in 2022 and what transpired in 2023. And as you can see with the new resources, the tremendous effort that was put forward. As Mr. Thompson said, yeah, we can do better, and I hope that that's the plan as well. But between modernization and also having that human being there, the most frustrating thing I talk to our constituents is not having a person on the other end of that phone, or being able to being able to talk to. The fact that you're open on Saturdays now as well and provide that opportunity. If you could comment on that as well, Mr.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to comment. I mean, when we had lower resources, it was so frustrating for IRS employees, not just because we couldn't have the right amount of people on the phone, but also we couldn't do what we need to do as part of meeting taxpayers where they are and serving them effectively in underserved populations. So what funding allows us to do is to do what the base of what we're supposed to do, which is be there to answer the phone, but it allows us to lean in and provide a more fulsome service experience. That means meeting taxpayers where they are, allowing them, if they want to walk into a walk-in center, that walk-in center is open, staffed, and there's no line outside. One of the things we did, Congressman, is we've opened 16 additional walk-in centers this filing season. That would have not been, those are in local communities around the country. Some of the districts of the members of this committee, we could not do that without the Inflation Reduction Act. So there's really no agenda here other than to meet the demand of a very complicated tax system so that we can serve Americans effectively.
And it's a great thing for the American taxpayer to understand that you are from the IRS and you are here to help, and we need to take advantage of that.